This video's topic is free tools that you can use to test your course. Now, when I say test, these tools can be used in a beta, in a POC, a proof of concept, or in a pilot. And there's another video where I describe what the differences between those are, but really it doesn't matter which one of those that you use. These are just free tools that you can use to test your course. And once your course is finalized and everything's done, you probably want to use something that's a little bit more permanent or put it in a permanent place. So these tools may not be relevant at that point, but when you're testing your course, these are fabulous tools to use, and these are all either free, and then a few of them are included. Like if you're already signed up with Microsoft, then you could use like the OneDrive, which we'll get to in a minute. So first, I'm going to split these into 5 different categories. The first is synchronous, and then asynchronous, and then both, a category of both synchronous and asynchronous. Connection and support, like what you might use, what tools you might use to connect and support, and then shared resources. Now, synchronous and asynchronous are just really fancy terms for, with the synchronous one, everyone is together at the same time and meeting together. Asynchronous means you're not. So it's, basically live or recorded. When we talk about synchronous, that has some advantages because you can have a dialogue or chat going on. You can be, addressing questions live and on the spot. It has some really fabulous advantages that make it a desirable thing for a test of your course. And the reason that this makes it advantageous when you test your course is because you're able to get in the moment feedback versus trying to draw that out from people later. However, it has some disadvantages too. How difficult can it be to get like everybody together at the same time? That can be a hard thing, but if you can do it, the synchronous tools can be fabulous. And those, of course, are Zoom, and the other one is Google Meet. Now, there may be some other tools out there. I'm going to talk about that later at the end of this video, that there are other tools out there. There's a lot of tools. And of course, this is the day and age when lots of new applications are happening and lots of new things are being launched. So what we have available today may not be what we have available in the future. But right now, a really good tool is Zoom. And as long as your classes are under 40 minutes, it's a free account. And then there's also Google Meet. Now, if your classes are longer than 40 minutes, you might want to consider a paid membership to Zoom in order to have the longer ones, or you may just use Zoom and do it that way. And of course, like I said, there are other tools to do like conference calls, and you can use a lot of those. Now, I haven't checked them out thoroughly. And the other part too is, how well does the chat work? Because you'll want to be able to use the chat. That's definitely something you want if you're going to use a call like this. Or you could potentially just have people talk to you, but having the chat is really helpful because then you have a document that you can go back and look at all those questions. Because in the moment when you're delivering your course, you may not remember all the things that were brought up. Okay, so asynchronous tools, these are basically presentations you may record and then have people have access to them. You can use an unlisted YouTube channel that's free, or Panopto, which I really like this tool quite a bit. It has 5 hours available on their free account. It also transcribes your videos, so you can actually get like that whole transcription thing done. Now, I believe that YouTube is doing this now too, so that may not be a differentiator between the two of them. But those are 2 fantastic free tools, and there may be other ones out there. Those are two that I know about. Now, we can't forget about Facebook groups, because Facebook groups, the way that it's set up is it is both asynchronous and synchronous. It allows you to capture things going live as well as putting it out there for people to catch it on a replay. So it does make a really, really good free tool available to practice your course, to test out certain activities, to test out certain stories and see how it lands with your audience. It's a fantastic tool for that. So I highly recommend Facebook groups if you haven't already. It may be disadvantageous if your audience isn't on Facebook. It could also be disadvantageous if, like, say your course is about not doing so much social media. So there are some topics, kind of is almost a bad thing. The other thing with Facebook groups is it does provide a lot of distraction because they're on the Facebook platform at that time. And that thing is always telling you something is going on. Somebody's commenting, somebody is doing somewhere or tagging you in a post. So it does have some distractions available, but it does make a great free tool for synchronous and asynchronous classrooms. That's 3 categories: synchronous, asynchronous, and both. And now the next category is just basically connection and support. And this may happen during the class, especially if you have like maybe a synchronous platform that doesn't have a chat box. You could potentially use a chat box separately, like a Messenger or Voxer or WhatsApp or Hangouts. These type of things allow you to provide connection and support after the course, after each session. It can help you catch up with homework barriers, like if somebody is going to do something from your session, but they are stuck, they can communicate it that way. Those are great free tools. Now, Voxer's free, and then it has a paid. WhatsApp, I believe, is all free. Google Hangouts, I believe, is all free. And of course, Facebook Messenger is free. There's lots of other things coming out. I just tested one called Squad Pal, and it looks really cool. It's a low-cost tool, not a free tool, but there's a lot of other different options that are coming up all the time. The last category of free tools that you'll want to use when you're doing testing your online course is, where do you hold the shared resources? And that is, how do you get them their workbooks or cheat sheets or FAQs or whatever it is that you want to deliver for them to have for themselves. And that would be under a Google Drive, Microsoft OneDrive, which of course Microsoft has a subscription price. So if you have Microsoft, that's available to you. It's not technically free, but many people already have a Microsoft account. And then of course you can also use email or Dropbox if you already have that. Dropbox, again, not free, but you may already have a Dropbox, and that might be another way to share those resources. So those are different ways that you can share resources. I prefer Google Drive because I only have to drop a link. People don't always get their email, or their email gets lost, and it keeps me from having to resend the email. I can just resend the link. The other advantage to having the Google Drive is if you decide to make changes or adjustments to your particular documents, you don't have to resend it out in an email. You can then just update it in that Google Drive. You can also use the Google Drive to hold your videos. So if there's a limit on how much you can have in there. But if you do not want to use a YouTube or Panopto for an asynchronous learning, you could record your videos and put them on a Google Drive and have them view that there. So that's another option for, asynchronous learning as well. So those are the 5 categories: synchronous, asynchronous, both, a special category of both, connection and support using, some sort of DM or chat or something like that, and then a shared resource, so a place where you can put all of the materials that they might want, or a way to send them out. I want you to know that these apps, like I've mentioned several times, these apps are always coming up with new possibilities and new things, and you can test those things out as part of your beta or POC also. If you're testing an activity, you're not sure how well this activity is going to work before you launch your course, but you've got this idea for a great and wonderful activity. So let's say you want to do a proof of concept just on this activity, which is a very possible thing to do. I've done it before just to find out if the directions, and because it was very convoluted, but the activity was a really great idea. So we tested it out. We were testing, does this activity work? Does our setup for this activity work? And then you can also say, do the tools for this activity work? So you can try something different and then use it as part of a proof of concept to see if that will work for you. And I say, go crazy, look for free stuff, look for open source stuff, and try something new, because lots of new stuff is being created all the day by brilliant people just like you. And so check out my other videos, because I have a lot more about how to create your course, how to test your course, how to make sure it works, how to make it fun for your students, how to make it effective for your students, which is super, super important. So I hope to see you later. Take care.